So that leads us then into a more mundane virtue, or at least a virtue which is more kind of involved or implicated in the daily grind or the daily affairs, which would be prudence. And we're thinking especially in terms of one aspect of prudence, namely docility.
Yeah.
So like a Catholic leader is going to be able to take input from those who are wiser, or those who are more experienced, or those who are more learned, or those who are competent in whatever way, shape, or form. So rather than just being a monomaniac and insisting on his own way like a raging egotist, right, he's going to be able to draw forth or call forth the talents of those persons with whom he surrounds himself, so that he can profit from their experience or from their expertise, and then set that kind of at the disposal of whatever project. So talk to me, anything to add there on prudence and docility?
I think with prudence and docility, it's not just about learning from like mentors or others who have experience in the field, but it's actually learning from the wisdom of saints. Like I see a lot of good Catholic leaders have rich spiritual lives. And one of the things that I've found probably more common with that is strong Catholic leaders love the stories of saints. It's really interesting to me because they're drawing from that, the ability to learn from their lives, to see commonalities of that. So it's the docility, not just to learn from actual mentors in whatever field it is, but also to learn from the mentors in the spiritual life, in the lives of saints. And that's been always just a unique thing that I've kind of picked up on, just like here and there when I talk to Catholic leaders, is like, what are some of the favorite things that they read a lot? They really, really love the lives of saints, because it's not only an encouragement, but you find those virtues of docility to learn from them. The other kind of semi-virtue or daughter virtue of prudence in this sense that I find a lot with Catholic leaders is very necessary, but also kind of rare to find, is the kind of daughter virtue of adaptability. Their ability, because of the virtue of prudence, they're able to enter into a situation, and maybe they start down a path, and thus they have to turn halfway down that path and do something different, pivot, as the culture would really say. But it's their ability to make adaptations along the way. There is a good Catholic leader who understands the spiritual life, understands that the vast majority of times, there is not a singular path that is God's will, and thus we have to white knuckle it and stay on that very, very narrow road. But it's about the twists and turns, and that the fact that there's truth in the promise of the Lord, who says, I will not abandon you. So as the path develops and bobs and weaves around the road, they keep making adaptations, because that's part of God's providence in this real world. And they embody that and are unafraid to adapt and pivot in a business model or in a different sector. When a surgeon's doing something and he gets in there and sees something else, he adapts. And they're very comfortable with that, because they're also very comfortable with the providence of God, which you don't find in other types of leaders. And I think that's a unique thing of Catholic leaders, is their comfortability to adapt along the way, because they're so confident in the providence of God, who supplies his grace, but also fulfills his promise that he will not abandon as the road matures and develops along the way.
Boom. Father Jacob Bertrand, would you say that you're optimistic about this subscription appeal?
No.
Would you say that you're optimistic about anything?
No.
Well, I am. Folks, go ahead and subscribe to the YouTube channel. We greatly appreciate it. Cheers.